There may be different points of time in our life where we have to make decisions, but we don't know how far the ripples of our decisions go. But how do we decide that? Only after a certain point of time after we take the decision. But the thing is, we don't have time to wait that long. But how do we know whether a decision is right or wrong? I think the best thing that we can do is to look at all the facts around us and then decide whether the decision is right or wrong. But how does this matter? Let it be anything. Let it be any normal situation. Maybe you're in a fight with a friend. The first thing that we do is look at our point of view. But not only that matters, right? I think our friend has a life and even they have their point of view. But we need to look at that too, and that is the most important factor. Well, that applies here too. So we need to look at all the facts that surround the decision or surround any situation for that matter. So, as I said previously, let us look at an example where we have a friend and we're in a fight with them. So what happens? We look at our point of view and we look at only the decisions and the facts that we have taken or what the other person has did to us. But we never put our legs into their shoes and see what mistakes we have done. And that is quite important. So when making a decision, I think we need to look at all points of view, because it is not just a two-man point of view, but when it comes to a decision, it may affect anybody around us. So I think we have different points of time in our life where we have to take important decisions which may not only affect us but affect different people around us. So we need to look at not only one person's point of view but many different people's point of view, and we should have the maturity to look that way. So this is probably the best thing that we can do to make a good decision. But what happens if we make the wrong decision? It is not only us who is getting affected, but it may affect different things in our own self. For example, we may look at ourselves in a different way after making that decision, after we know that we have made a wrong decision. So I think it is quite important to make the right decision. So what happens when we make the wrong decision? We have different things that happen. I would like to narrate something that happened in my life. But this was not about a decision, but how I handled something that went down in my life. So I was in the 10th grade, probably around 14-15 years old. And to be honest, it was a friendship breakup. So I was friends with a girl for about 4 to 5 years, and we were very close. We were almost like sisters. So there was something that happened between the two of our families, and there was a tough fight that happened. But that didn't affect any of our family members, but it did affect us. So we were in different classes, and we were 3 of us. So myself and another friend, we were in one class, and the girl I'm talking about, she was in another class. So we used to talk to each other in the lunch break, in the tea break, and so on. So at one point of time, she started ignoring me. She wasn't replying to any of my talks or conversations that I had with her. She was only talking to the other friend. So this was quite funny to me, and I thought maybe she was playing a prank or something. But this continued for a week, probably 10 days, and it broke my heart. Literally. So what I did was, I didn't want to go behind her and beg her to talk to me, because I thought it wasn't the right thing to do, because it was her decision not to talk to me. But I didn't know the reason why she stopped talking, because the fight wasn't between us. And I didn't know what stopped or what came in between. So I just didn't know what to do. I used to sit alone in class during lunch. I didn't go down, I didn't play, I didn't talk to anyone. One thing that my parents taught me was not to cry in front of others, and I wanted to follow that. So I used to come home daily to my mom and start crying. That was what I actually did. So this affected me a lot in many ways, not just that I was isolated from the others, but it also affected my studies. I'm not a very great studious person or a nerd, but I always scored around in the 70s. So what happened was my marks went very low, and it was my 10th grade, so it was quite an important year. But things affected me quite badly, and I started scoring low in my math papers, and all the teachers were quite curious about what happened to me, because I was always smiling, but now I wasn't. So how did I come up with this, or how did I cope up with that? I started talking to other people, and I had loads of help from my other friends. And I think that's how I started coping up with what happened with me. And I think art was a very good thing that came to me at that point of time. So I started drawing. I'm sure all of you are familiar with mandala designing. So that was something that I came up with at that point of time, and it still helps me when I'm alone. So art is something that always helps you, and probably it comes out when you're alone. So always distract yourself. I think that's the first thing that you can do. And I think everything happens for our own good. For example, whatever happened with me and my friend, it did not, I didn't know at that point of time that it was going to be something, I didn't know that I was going to cope up with this and have a better life. But only after 1 year that I had new friends and a new environment, that I knew that it was a good decision or a good thing that happened to me, that I actually came away from her. Maybe if I was her friend at that point of time, I wouldn't have even joined engineering. I wouldn't even probably be speaking in front of you guys for the Redoact. And I think that's how far the ripples of our decisions go. So something that's very important to learn from this is that we need to cope up with anything that comes along our path. And I think we need to, even if we make wrong decisions, I think we need to live with that and move on in the right path and give it a fair amount of thought before making any decision. So everything happens for our own good, and I think that's what makes life more interesting. Thank you.